Hi everybody, it's Father Dave. We're getting ready this coming weekend to start having Masses for the weekend again, and we are going to try to keep our normal weekend Mass schedule. We're here at the Church of St. John's in Susquehanna, but we're not going to be actually in the church yet. The church still has to be clean, and we got to sanitize everything and map out where everybody's going to be able to sit. So we're going to continue with the use of the hall, and that's where we'll be having our first few Masses until ready to enter into the church. So here we are in St. John's Hall, where we will be celebrating the Mass, where we will be regathering. We've been, open all through, but we just have not been gathering for the Eucharist, but we are going to be gathering this coming weekend. During the days leading up to Mass, the hall is locked, and we have signs on the doors that say, no entry, because the hall has been cleaned and sanitized in preparation for the Mass. Now, when it's time to come, if you signed up for Mass and you're coming on Sunday, before you head out, just check to make sure you don't have a fever, don't have any symptoms of cold or flu, that everything seems to be going well. We strongly urge people not to use the restrooms unless it's an emergency, so we'd want to keep that in mind as we're signing up to come out too. Again, maybe keep in mind that we do have a pretty good number of coronavirus in SNF, so we do have it around, so we want to be aware of that, and if we think we have any pre-existing conditions that maybe we shouldn't come, then maybe we'd stay home. When you come to Mass, you will be wearing your mask, so whatever style you've got, we're going to have those on all through the Mass. So the mask will be worn on the way in, through the entire Mass, basically until we leave. So let's take a look inside. So here we are inside the hall, and if you take a look around, we see the chairs where the different parishioners who are coming to Mass will sit. They are social distance, so everybody is 6 feet apart, away from anybody else. Chairs have been sanitized, and they'll be sanitized again with the rest of the room after the Mass. Myself, Deacon Ron, and our lector will also be social distancing. I'll be the only one handling things like the chalice or the wine, the water, those things. So we will come in, we'll be checked at the door, we'll mark off the name of each person who was called and said they wanted to attend the Mass. Once everyone is in, I will probably give a short instruction, because everyone through the whole Mass is going to stay in place right where they are. We're not going to have the sign of peace. There won't be any procession with the gifts, and there won't be any collection for the offertory. There will be a basket by the exit where you can drop in your envelope if you have one on your way out. So I will celebrate the Mass as usual. We won't have any singing because everybody's going to have the mask on. We won't have a sign of peace because there's no touching at this point. When it comes time for communion, the Holy Eucharist, we're going to have basically 2 lines. So one for those receiving in the hand, and we still recommend that you do receive in the hand, but if somebody strongly feels they want to receive on the tongue, then they will go to the line to receive on the tongue. But every person who receives on the tongue, the person, either the priest or the deacon, will have to sanitize their hands after each one. So we just want to kind of make that manageable. Communion will not be at the normal time. At communion time, I will receive. I'll give communion to the deacon, but then we will continue on with the Mass to the final blessing, and that's when the Holy Communion will be distributed. So I will step over to the far side, and one by one, the person will come up, take their mask off. I will give them communion in the hand. They'll receive, and they will immediately go out the door. So there won't be any remaining in this worship space for prayers of thanksgiving. That will have to be done outside. The homily will be a little shorter because the bishop recommends that we try not to spend too much time together here in the hall. And so each one who receives then will immediately go out. So we have one way for enter and another for exit only. And when everybody else has gone out, then we will begin the process of sanitizing the hall. and any of the things that we used, and even the vestments and the albs that the priest and the deacon will wear. All that will be cleaned and prepared for the next time. So hopefully this will be helpful. It's not as complicated as it sounds, but we do have to make sure that we all know what we're going to be doing and what our first experience of regathering for the celebration of Eucharist is going to be like. And so I just pray the Lord's blessing for you, and we'll continue this little process by going also to St. Martin's Church and St. Lawrence, because each of our worship sites are a little different right now. So God bless, and you have a good day. Well, here we are at St. Martin of Tours Church, and if you're going to be coming to St. Martin's, this will be the only entrance for the Mass, and the exit will be on the large parking lot side of the church, and that will be the only exit. So that means if you're planning on coming to St. Martin's, you need to consider that you're going to have to do the steps. So if somebody has problems with walking up the steps, then we're probably going to have to wait until we get back to the full opening of the church. Actually, not really an opening. This is just our regathering, as we said before, over at St. John's. Again, we'd ask everybody to take your temperature at home, make sure you don't have a fever, make sure you don't have any symptoms of cold or flu. Bring your mask. Maybe you want to bring a little wipe or hand sanitizer just for your own use. Please don't leave anything, though, behind in the church. So, as we enter the church, we're going to make sure that everybody has their mask on, and we're going to keep the mask on all the way through the Mass until the end. When we receive Holy Communion, we'll just, for a moment, take the mask down to receive, and then immediately exit the church, and any prayer of thanksgiving, that sort of thing, will be done outside. Now, the priest and the deacon won't be wearing the mask except for giving Holy Communion. But we will be a distance from everyone. And again, I'll be the only one handling things like the chalice or that, and we'll be all nice and sanitized before we begin. The church is cleaned, it's been sanitized, and so we'll be all ready for the weekend. But let's go on in and see how our seating arrangement will be here at St. Martin's. So on our way into the church, we'll have ushers checking your name off, because we are going by the reservation system, and you will be escorted to your seat. So it won't be seating just wherever we want to sit. It will be according to the numbers. So each one will be seated in a way we're social distance from each other, and those who are going to then sanitize the church know exactly where someone was seated. And so once we come in, we get to our seat, that's where we will remain until we come up at the very end of the Mass after the blessing for communion, and we'll immediately exit by the door on my right, and then down the steps and out into the lot. Up in the front here, obviously, is where we'll celebrate Mass pretty much as normal. The homily will be a little bit short, because the part of the plan is not to stay too long together inside the church building. So this is going to be, if you've been to the daily Mass, it'll be very similar to that. If not, we will be giving direction through the whole process of the Mass, and I will go over instructions again at the beginning of the Mass. So God bless. We're looking forward to seeing you here at the church. Here we are at the front door of St. Lawrence Church, and as we said for the other two churches, before heading out to come to Sunday Mass, please check your temperature, make sure you don't have any symptoms of cold or flu, anything that could possibly be connected with the virus. But even if you have just a normal cold or flu, we better to stay home. One of the first things here, will be a little bit different, is the restrooms will not be available in the Trinity Center. But for emergency cases, we're still asking people to plan on not using the restroom. But if for some reason we have to, we're going to use the little restroom in the rectory through the side door. And it's just in to the left. It's going to be, it's just one private bathroom, so whoever goes, goes. So this will be the entrance, the front door here of the church, and that will be for everybody to come in. That'll be the only door for in. And then for exit, it will be to the front of the church that comes out by the ramp. And so we'll exit it there at the end of Mass, immediately after receiving communion. So our prayers of thanksgiving that will be outside. We won't remain in the church after communion. So let's take a look inside the church. So to enter the church, you'll have to have your mask on. So the mask's on for entering the doors, and they will remain on through the entire Mass. There will be someone to greet you at the door to kind of ask a few health questions, check your name on our list, and you'll be escorted to your seat. So you'll go to one seat. It's not going to be seating wherever we want. It's going to be according to what's been mapped out, and you'll remain there for the entirety of the Mass until it's time at the very end to come forward for Holy Communion. Again, there won't be any procession with the gifts. There won't be a sign of peace. And again, we won't be singing because we have the masks on, and we want to limit the amount of time too that we'll actually be together in the church. When it does come time for communion, we'll invite everyone to come forward. Again, we're really asking everybody to receive in the hand, but if somebody does receive from the tongue, then we will take time out, and I will sanitize my hands, and if it's Deacon Ron, he will do the same. The whole church has been sanitized. As far as the chalice, we will not be giving the chalice, only the host. But all those things on the altar, I will be the only one handling any of those things, and I will be sanitizing my hands before we begin. And all of those things also, like everything in the church, has been very meticulously cleaned and sanitized. And so let's just take a look up here in the front. So as we said, at the end of the Mass, after the final blessing, it will be time for Holy Communion, and each one will come up, beginning with the front pews and keeping the social distance. You can kind of see the lines on the floor to give us a kind of a guide about being 6 feet apart. We will come up with the mask on, pull the mask down, receive communion in the hand. If you do receive on the tongue, I'll have to take the time to sanitize my hands. But once you have received, put your mask back on, and we will exit by the side door where it says exit only. And so we just want to welcome everybody back to Mass, all who are able to make it. We're going to be praying for you at home. Let's all stay healthy, and we hope to see everybody soon. God bless.